So this is an interesting perspective. Lots of worldviews out there, but they basically fall into two groups. And there's connection, abundance, and then there's separation, scarcity. And for most of us, we grew up in this separation, scarcity. There was never enough A's, going through school. There's not enough money. There's not enough time. There's, you can just go on indefinitely on what you can perceive as a lack. And so this is kind of addressing that. And anyway, so there's four pillars of connection worldview. One is there is enough. There actually is enough. There's enough to feed the world several times over. It's not a supply issue. It's logistics, it's economics, it's political, all kinds of nonsense, which is like, that's wrong, like 10 shades of wrong, right? The next one is mystery, embracing the unknown. Most of us want to be able to control and predict without error. I want to know that I'm going to have the money to pay my mortgage at the end of the month, right? We like certainty. That's just not how life rolls. Have you ever noticed that? Right? You put a schedule together and it gets blown out, 20 minutes into the day, and you're going, all right, well, I wasn't anticipating that. The next one is fallibility. We don't want to make mistakes. I personally, I freak about making mistakes. But it's going to happen. And if you can frame it in terms of, you know what, I have high retention rates for the things that cost me skin. If I can frame it that failure is learning. Most of the life skills that I have, I learned because I crashed and burned, right? That's just life. And other focused love. It shifts my energy outward to actively love, serve. I love this. Change the room, change the atmosphere for other people. That's the connection worldview. And it has four issues. One of them is a profound connection to higher power, love and other focused, one's true identity. I'm not going to do very well if I'm trying to be someone else. We already have one of them. We need you. We need you to show up in your true self and who you are. The things you're good at, the things you're not good at. I am not good at numbers. I'm reasonably intelligent. I know how to run a calculator, but my first job was downloading data for a CPA up the street from where I lived. I thought, shoot me now. If this is how I have to make my living, it's not my thing. And I could have gone to school and studied accounting. I'm reasonably intelligent. I could have pulled that off, but I would have put 5 units of effort and I would have gotten 5 units of return. But going to school, just my undergrad degrees in biology, I love the outdoors. I put 5 units of effort in and I get 15 back when I am working in my design, when I am okay with being who I am in my own skin. The last one is I'm always looking for win-win outcomes. The connection mindset, it's not just about me. It's how can I serve you and we both win. So it's a mutual, it's a positive thing for both of us. So then let's look at, and it lives out of an open-handed lifestyle. I'm not, whatever is mine, I'm going to keep it. I'm like very, very open-handed, and that just creates connection with people. People naturally gravitate to someone that's open-handed, that's like willing to give of themselves, to share who they are, to be real, to engage. So then, pillars of the separation worldview, scarcity. There's not enough of anything. There's just not enough. Not enough time, not enough money. It's certainty. There's only one way. It's my way. You've probably heard my way or the highway, right? How well does that work? Not so much. Right? In the business arena, at home, it's a non-starter. Perfectionism, no flaws allowed. Well, that counts me out, right? I am infamous maybe for, messing things up. And if I'm freaked about even showing up, I am not going to be able to engage with people well. Self-promotion, self-protection, me and my team first. It doesn't work well. It alienates people. So the mindset believes there's not enough resources, time, value, love. Because of scarcity, there's not enough. I want what you have. Russia and Ukraine, right? Not enough, I'm gonna take what you have. I'm gonna start a war to do it. Same thing works in neighborhoods, right? In your family, it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere. I'm looking for win-lose outcomes. I'm sure that every one of us have gone to a business where we feel like you do not have my best interests in mind. You're looking out for what your bottom line is, and you couldn't care less, whether it fits me well, whether it's gonna be appropriate for my business or my personal life, right? And how well do you connect with those people? Not, right? You're looking for the door as soon as you walk in. Living in cycles of anxiety, self-protection, self-promotion, and conflict. When I have that kind of fear that there's not enough, it creates conflict. I am afraid. And because I'm afraid, I don't connect well with other people. And it generates that friction that, does anybody need more anxiety in their lives? I don't know. I don't think I do. Thank you. And it's fear-based. And that's really what I want to talk about today. So here we go. We're hardwired to attach to other people. When we're born, think about, an infant. Oh, where are you? Right? We're hardwired to connect. But we draw back because we've been hurt, right? And so that creates anxiety, creates fear, but our initial inclination is always to connect. That's what's hardwired in us, even when we're rascals. I'm thinking about some of the times where traffickers have come to our pop-up at the laundromats. It's like, you're still hardwired to connect. Rascals that they are, right? Attachment injuries come when this fails us as young children. So people, draw back, sometimes, in a way that's quite damaging because of those injuries. But there's 2 innate fears that we're born with. Only 2. Amazing. Fear of falling, fear of loud noises. That's the only thing that we're born with. That means everything else is learned. Hey, wait, that means I can unlearn it. That's a good deal, right? They're malleable. I can change them when I am intentional. So here we go. There's a couple factors in addressing fear. First, you have to look at fact versus truth, because they're not necessarily equivalent, even though initially it sounds like they are. So the fact is, my dad passed away when I was 5 years old. And as a 5-year-old, my bike needed to be fixed. And so I knew my mom was upset. There was a lot of stuff going on, and my dad wasn't there. And so I remember trying to figure out as a 5-year-old a diplomatic way to ask my mom. And I walk into the kitchen, "Hey Mom, when's Dad coming home?" And she buries her face in her hands, sobbing. And I'm standing there going, I'm in trouble now. And yeah, all right, I run out the back door, and we had something of a farm. I run down to the barn, and on my way, I'm going, don't go back to Mom. She doesn't have what I need, right? So I straight armed my mom the rest of my life. I didn't figure this out until she'd already passed away. And as far as my dad goes, I went, I'm right. He split right when I needed him. I interpreted his death as abandonment. It was not abandonment. He died of a heart attack. So fact, but the truth was not that he abandoned me, right? But I carried that lie in my head for years, and it affected my relationships. I can tell you how. I can give you guided tours of most of the mistakes you can make. So I get married in Alaska, teaching certificate in Alaska. I taught up there for years, biology, chemistry, high school stuff. And we moved down here. I didn't maintain my certificate, 3 kids. And in the back of my head, he's gonna split right when I need him, right? That was not his MO. That way, whatever it is. That was not how he rolled, right? And I was talking to a friend of mine. She goes, "Becky, where'd that come from?" Because she knew him well. And I went, I don't know where that came from. And so I went home going, no, okay, came from someplace. That's another thing. The things I do are not random. If it's random, it sucks to be me. But if it's not random, it pays me well to take the time to go, where did that come from? And I'm thinking, it goes back to this 5-year-old little girl, right? A guy will split right when you need them. I had to go back from that 5-year-old perspective. I understood he died of a heart attack. I grew up and understood that he died. You know, he didn't split. But this little 5-year-old girl on the inside was still stuck in that cycle, in that lie. So I had to go back from this 5-year-old perspective and go, he didn't abandon you. He died, honey. Right? I had to go back. Forgive my dad. Of course I forgive him, right? Break the judgments that that little 5-year-old made. And that fear evaporated, gone. I didn't have to deal with it anymore, none, zero. So when I am afraid, I am living out of my hind brain. My amygdala is back here, which is especially, it's the keeper of the memories, both good and bad, right? And my amygdala is all about survival. Fight, flight, freeze, play dead, right? It's got a forward vocabulary. I can't think my way out of a paper bag with those 4 words, right? But when I'm afraid, I can only think in one area of my brain at a time. I can either think back here, all about survival, based on fear, or I can come up here to a creative, resourceful, imaginative position where I can imagine a way forward that hasn't been there before. I can be creative. So this is an interesting perspective about a discrete fear, but most of us, I don't know about you, but most of us end up with a fear that is more intangible. For me, the fear that I always deal with is I'm not good enough. Remember, all fear is learned except loud noises and falling. And so that, if I can understand that fear, and there's all kinds of them. The ultimate reality is that fear of being powerless and alone, right? Those are the driving things. And so when I am aware of those, I can go, okay, I get it, I hear you, but I'm not going to let you make my decisions. I'm not going to let that fear that is irrational make my decisions for me. I'm not going to let that fear determine what doors I go through and what doors I don't. Otherwise, I'm paralyzed. I am stuck. Right? And those fears, I have to take the time to actually acknowledge them. Because until I acknowledge them, they're going to mess with me. I'm going to think back here where I cannot imagine a creative way forward. I can't problem solve. Back here, I can't problem solve. I can only problem solve when I can shift the locus of my thought to this upper area, higher brain function. All right, here we go. Second, monitor your rearview mirror. Did you ever walk away from a scuffle embarrassed by what you said, by what you did? What happened? It blew up in a nanosecond. Frustrated that I could have had something going and never mind, right? Trying to figure out how do I recover the relationship because the words I said were so outrageous. Anybody besides me? Okay, don't raise your hand. All right? So I have to ask myself these questions. Remember, there's a reason why I do the things I do. And it will serve me well to take the time to go, Becky, that was amazing in not a good way. What was going on? What was driving that, right? Who does this person remind me of? Very often it's tied to a previous event, somebody that's still controlling your life, even though it was 15 years ago. I'm not going to give them real estate in my life now. So I have to go back and resolve that to create the runway to go forward here. It pays to take time, right? Has anyone dealt with me this way before? Where have I or someone else I care about encountered something similar? And the note is you are the only one you can change. And even some days that's not even an option. So don't be exporting. Don't be going, oh, it's my sister. You should hear my sister or my husband or my, yeah, this is the person that you see in the mirror, okay? That's the only way it works. Doesn't help to export. I've actually tried. I'm learning. Clean out past due accounts. I like the idea of making it, a monetary thing, even though I'm not really good at CPA stuff. Break judgments. You only know your half. You only know what you see. Peripheral vision, maybe you got 180 degrees. But you don't know. You don't know if they just got, somebody blew up at you, was being harsh with you. Oh, right, I rent a safe house for gals coming out of trafficking for a long time. I am an older woman, I have gray hair, I suppose you know this. And so they would always project mother issues onto me, especially if they had abusive moms, right? And so when they would do that, I would go, all right, they're not even looking at me. They're looking at their mom and my body, reacting to me like this abusive person. And so I would take time to talk with them, go, I would hear their stories, and I would say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's profound. But I am not her. Can we forgive her and break judgments against her? So let me talk about that for a moment. Forgiving does not mean that what they did was not a big deal. It doesn't mean that what they did was okay. It doesn't mean that what they did didn't matter, wasn't important. It doesn't mean you can't press charges. But what it does mean is you owed me a debt, like crazy money debt. And because I'm not going to get it out of you anyway, I'm going to take that debt and I'm going to tear it up and I release you. I release you from what you owed me. I can get stopped by a cop on 95 for speeding, which does happen on occasion. And he could be the most corrupt guy on the force, but I will honor his office. I will honor his badge, his gun, and I will pull out my registration, and I will say yes or no, sir, and I will pray that, it's not too much for the ticket, right? But I will honor him for the office. And so when I am forgiving someone, I can honor them for the office. And most parents, right, do the best they can with what they have. It doesn't excuse them. I mean, I have worked with people that had absolutely malicious parents, but most of them were just busted, and they're passing on what they got when they were kids. All right, if I don't see it modeled, it's really hard to reproduce it in my own life. And so when you look at it that way, I can go, yeah, messed up. I mean, I know women that were parents for their first pimps. I know women that were molested by their parents when they were 3 and on, like, I hear stories, right? But I have to be able to separate that person, broken, busted, messed up, but you owe me nothing. I release you. Because that is what helps me move past the fear, right? I have to release the debt. Extend mercy. I used to tell my kids, if it's possible that you might grow up someday and you might have children someday and you might make a mistake in parenting those children and you might perhaps want them to forgive you for being stupid. This is where you sow the seed that will come and bear fruit when you're an adult and you make mistakes as a parent, right? What goes around comes around. All right, fear is your signal. When I am afraid, I have to look at fear as an arrow. It's pointing to something, most often a lie that I have believed, that I'm going to change that lie if I want to live in less fear, less anxiety, right? When you register fear, anxiety, self-protection, ask this question: what not enough am I believing right now? What is driving this fear? Find the root cause. It is discoverable and it is malleable. The only 2 fears that we're born with: loud noises and falling. That means I can unlearn some of this nonsense, right? Identifying that specific lie of lack empowers you to consciously address it, shifting it from a state of separation, scarcity, back to connection and abundance. It's worth the time. What neighborhood do you want to live in? Scarcity, separation keeps me trapped back here. Fight, flight, freeze, self-protection. Impulsive reactions instead of thoughtful responses. Not thoughtful in terms of, I'll open the door for you, but thoughtful in terms of, okay, there's a better response. Thoughtful in that I'm thinking about it, I'm responding rather than reacting. No access to the creative problem-solving resources in my higher brain. The connection abundance mindsets, it activates this part of my brain where I can imagine a compromise that is a win-win instead of the win-lose I've been hammering on, right? Faith, vision, dreams, identity, creative solutions, all live up here, not back here, right? And Jesus, whatever you think about him, constantly redirected people's focus away from fear towards imagination. He's going, look at the birds in the air, look at the fields, the flowers in the fields, right? He was trying to help people bypass that not enough narrative that we're all steeped in. That is the world we live in by and large. So connection, or abundance, separation, scarcity. If you like the connection abundance option, it's going to take some work, right? It doesn't just fall out of a box. Productive pain versus non-productive pain, that's a PowerPoint for another day. But the bottom line is, as I can't change NATO, I can't change the government, but I can change the sphere that I live in. I can be a source of life for the people whom my life touches. So that's, yeah, thoughts, questions?
Wow, awesome.
I always heard that fear is false evidence appearing real.
Yeah, but I still take the bait.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
I still
We
take
all
the bait.
do.
Yeah.
And I think we have to realize that a lot of our fear has been taught to us by other people who are fearful. You know, if you live in a fearful community, family, whatever you want to say, and you hear it constantly, it's very hard to say, oh, well, I'm going to have a different perspective.
Right. And I look at my life, you know, I'm not good enough. Like, who told me I'm not good enough? That's learned, right? It's very hard to unlearn that, but at least being aware of it helps me to be mindful and strategic going forward. And I can go, yes, I hear you, but I'm not taking appointments with you today. I'm gonna face this way, right? Anybody else? Yeah.
I think everybody in this room that just listened to you would tell you that you're more than good enough. You're E in excellence.
And that's why those fears are so debilitating, because they're absolutely not true, right? They are internally generated, but yet if I allow them, they will dictate the next steps I take in any situation. Yes.
And to your point, a lot of times what you perceive as somebody telling you to be fearful or to not trust yourself is just them projecting their own lack of self-confidence on you. So it's really a matter of like separating yourself from what's coming in and being able to maintain boundaries and be aware of your outlook,
right,
as opposed to being a reflection of what's
right. And that's why when the traffickers would come to the pop-ups, I would be going, you know, this one guy comes and I go, I said, this guy, he's a veteran. I'm sure he's got PTSD. I'm sure he's got stuff going on. And I said, God has a plan for your life that has eternal value and significance. He didn't, and I'm not saying this out loud, but I'm going, he did not create you to be a jerk. He did not create you to mess with people like you are. And he says, oh, God and me, we're not on real great terms. I said, oh, God's on great terms with you, right? He's not mad, irritated, frustrated, annoyed, disappointed, or ashamed of you, right? And so I am trying to engage him where he is and invite him into this connection abundance position. And it's an invitation, right? If I could crowbar somebody into it, I probably would try. It doesn't work, right? So it has to be an invitation. You have to live it in such a way that it's appealing, that people go, wow, I want what you have, right? And there's one other thing. Oh, it has to do with the lenses that I look at life through, right? That fear, I'm not good enough. I can allow that fear to color everything that somebody says to me, all the opportunities that come forward. But if I can acknowledge it, then I can go, yeah, I'm not wearing those glasses today. I'm not doing that today. I can choose. I can be intentional and strategic. But I can't do that until I can identify it and be honest with myself. It takes honesty with yourself, which the story I tell myself is the most important story I'll ever hear. Anybody else?
Becky, I love how you ended about your life and the life you created. Can you repeat that for us? I mean, it was just beautiful. I know. Because I almost forget the words too, but it was so beautiful. It was like something about the life I create creates the life I am, or the life around us.
So I'm sure that you've been in a meeting, a party or something, and there's somebody that walks in and you go, oh yay, they're here, you know, how much fun. And then you've also been in a place where somebody walks in the door, you go, I think I gotta go. Right? That's because your essence is not confined to your skin, right? Your essence, however far it goes out, right? And people read that. It's not, oh, this is funny. This is years and years and years ago. Thankfully, I am a little bit beyond that now. And I was jealous of this guy, and I was a waitress, and he comes in to the restaurant and he's, asks for my section, and I'm going, I don't like this guy, And he goes, did I do something wrong? Did I say something that offended you? And I'm going, oh, nailed, caught, right? Because my attitude, even though I did not say a word that would have betrayed that, he could pick it up in my essence. It's not confined to my skin. And so that means when I create a space where there's connection and abundance and safety, right? The people around me can melt into that, can lean into that. I think that's why we're effective at the pop-ups and the other outreaches that we do.
It's just hard to remember to do that.
The trick is to live it. And then it's not a matter of memory. It's a matter of, that's just what comes out of me.
It's a perspective.
Yeah.
It's a perspective. It's exactly what you said.
Right.
The scripture says, do not be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's all about perspective.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of the problems, especially with your girls that you work with, is that they give their power away to another person. And they don't trust themselves for whatever reason.
Right.
And they believe whatever their...
Well, most of that started, the huge percentage of them were molested as children. Mm-hmm. And so I lose my voice. Mm-hmm. My boundaries are like non-existent, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're trained, that's their experience. Like, this one gal, her dad was a former football player. The guy was 6'4", and I don't know what he weighed, but he would beat the mom to a bloody pulp. And so her, he started molesting her when she was 3. Mm-hmm. Her mindset was, yeah, don't say no, that's not smart. Right? Yeah.
Well, I am officially guilty of turning my own timer off because I was so caught up in what you were saying.
Sorry.
It's okay, it's okay. It's that 5:09, so.
All right, here we go.